The world once spoke over me and said I lacked, that I was behind, that I needed to struggle harder, climb longer, sacrifice deeper, and chase success until exhaustion proved my worth. But heaven had already spoken something entirely different. While people told me to grind, the unseen realm instructed me to speak. While society demanded effort, the Spirit whispered stillness. While voices around me said, push, prove, and pursue, God quietly said, declare my word and I will release what already belongs to you. I was never designed to serve what my eyes could see. I was created to govern what exists beyond sight, and the same truth is alive for you. You may believe you came searching for a method, a formula, or a secret to becoming wealthy, but the reality is far deeper than that. You already exist as abundance in the unseen realm. You do not transform into what you speak. You uncover what has always been yours when you give it voice. Every resource, every opportunity, every contract, every inspired idea already rests within the invisible storehouse of the Word. I did not chase money, earn favor, or force doors open. I spoke with alignment, and provision found me through grace. God, at the exact appointed time. When I say I am a millionaire, I am not expressing desire or imagination. I am activating the divine name that lives within me. When God told Moses, I am that I am, it was not mystery or poetry. It was legal authority spoken into the courts of heaven. That declaration carried the power to split seas, unlock provision, and alter reality. Each time you speak the words, I am, you are not repeating hopeful thoughts. You are stepping into your true spiritual identity. Not the labels placed on you by the world, not the numbers in your account, but the name heaven has always known you by. You are already provided for. You are already supplied. You are already prosperous. But your words must agree, thinking faith meant silent belief. I learned that faith is not quiet agreement, but confident declaration. I believe wealth came through relentless effort, but I discovered it flows through spiritual authority. I thought I was waiting on God, but in truth, God was waiting on my decree. When I finally spoke, not from fear or force, but from trust and alignment, everything changed. Unexpected provision appeared. Financial burdens dissolved. Opportunities opened without God, resistance. It happened because I declared a single truth with authority. I am a millionaire by divine right, and my supply is present now. Scripture instructs the weak to say they are strong and the poor to say they are rich, not because denial creates reality, but because the mouth holds dominion. The tongue is not meant for description alone. It functions as a gavel that issues commands in the spiritual realm, compelling creation to respond. Words are not passive. They are instruments of governance. Point your speech toward lack and it diminishes. Aim it at debt and it dissolves. Speak into confusion and order emerges. The wealth you desire is not withheld. It is waiting for your authorization. It cannot move without your decree. You were never created to earn provision through struggle. You were designed to release it through proclamation. Your tongue is the throne from which you rule your personal world. When Scripture says you shall decree a thing and it will be established, it is stating spiritual law, not metaphor. Speak boldly now, not someday. Declare it as truth. I am a millionaire by divine law. My supply belongs to me. Wealth responds to my authority. I speak and God takes form. The moment your speech carries authority, heaven echoes it. Poverty is not a condition. It is a confession repeated until the speaker forgets their power. Statements like I can't, I don't have, or maybe later become invisible barriers. People blame systems, histories, economies, or circumstances, but the true restraint is misused speech. Creation does not respond to desperation. It responds to decree. You were never meant to live governed by 4,274 minutes, 27 seconds, numbers, or balances. You were formed in the image of the Creator, whose first action was not labor, but speech. Light appeared because it was spoken. That same creative pattern operates through you. Most speak from fear rather than faith, from anxiety rather than authority, and so they generate delay instead of manifestation. Poverty is not your destiny, your lesson, or your test. It is a false agreement you are free to revoke. The kingdom of God is not contained in paychecks or prices, but in divine order, peace, and abundant substance for those bold enough to claim it aloud. The world glorifies struggle and calls it humility, but your true identity is abundance. Your inheritance is provision. Your words are God, the keys that unlock it. As long as you speak like a servant, you will struggle to live like a sovereign. If you continually speak of delay, you will never walk in divine timing. Phrases such as "I'm trying" or "I don't know" become unintended prophecies that hold miracles captive. It is time to reclaim the sanctuary of your tongue and dedicate it to truth. You are not small, forgotten, late, or behind. You are not cursed or lacking. You are a flowing stream of divine supply. You are wealth expressed in human form. You are a ruler who momentarily forgot your crown. Put it back on. Stand with authority. Speak what heaven is waiting to repeat. Lack exists only through speech. Change your words and you change your world. Declare now that every agreement with limitation is broken. Erase every sentence of restriction. Say with certainty that you are rich, provided for, and supported by divine law. Speak it as fact, not fantasy. The law will respond because words are never empty. Silence is. The world teaches you to wait for signs, but creation begins with sound. Wealth begins with a sentence, not a strategy. God did not work before speaking. He spoke and then creation followed. The God ensign realm obeys authority, not effort. Long before my first million manifested, it existed fully in the Spirit because I declared it consistently, not as hope but as law. I spoke to align myself with what heaven had already established. Each morning I chose decrees over worries. I affirmed abundance instead of checking lack. I declared supply instead of rehearsing fear. I remembered that my mouth is God's instrument and everything shifted. Fear lost its grip. Provision appeared through channels I never planned. Resources arrived without request. Debts vanished. Doors opened without resistance. Money was never missing. It was waiting for permission. It was never about timing or economy. It was about alignment of speech. When contradiction stopped, flow began. This path was not difficult. It was sacred. It required faithfulness, not force. Law responds to consistency, not emotion. I spoke in emptiness and overflow, in silence and movement, until my word carried weight and the unseen aligned itself accordingly. Your first million is already complete in the spiritual realm, awaiting your authorization. Creation responds to law, and law moves through decree. Speak your reality in what? God, heaven's system comply. Every statement is a seed that multiplies according to its nature. Speak abundance and abundance returns. Your voice is not noise, it is legislation. When you understand that your word is not opinion but command, you stop repeating limitations and begin authoring prosperity. Declare it now with certainty. My word is law. My speech produces wealth. My decree unlocks supply. My tongue governs my world. Wealth moves toward me as I speak. Heaven responds to rulers, not wishers. The moment you stop describing circumstances and start declaring identity, delay dissolves. When you speak who you are instead of what you see, alignment follows. This truth is lived, not imagined. There was a time when all I possessed was a single sentence repeated daily with unwavering faith. God is my unfailing supply. Great sums of money come to me quickly under grace in perfect ways. I spoke it without desperation, without fear, without explanation. I trusted law over emotion, certainty over evidence. My environment shifted. Provision appeared. It was never coincidence. It was divine law responding to sound. Money follows proclamation, not panic. Bills are not threats, but opportunities. God, nitties for speech. Speak to them with authority. Declare them fulfilled. Treat every need as already met by divine substance. Supply is presence, not paper, and it responds to command. Speak before the day speaks for you. Each morning is an open canvas awaiting instruction. Whoever speaks first governs. If you rise in silence, circumstances take control. But when you rise and declare provision, direction, and favor, you rule the day. Speak before tasks, before worries, before distractions. Your first word is architecture for the hours ahead. Heaven constructs what you authorize. Angels respond to what you decree. The treasury opens when your mouth opens in faith. Fear will attempt to undo your words through doubt disguised as logic, but fear is not wisdom. It is sabotage. Do not allow it residence. Cancel no decree with anxiety. Delay does not mean denial. Silence does not mean absence. The unseen is always working. Speak back to fear with truth. Expel it through declaration. Speak regardless of emotion. Law responds to truth, not feeling. Your mouth is an altar. Your words are fire. Your faith is fragrance. You are designed to govern, not tremble, to form, not fear. When you stop God speaking from emotion and start speaking from law, stability is born. Feelings change, but law remains. Speak what you know to be eternally true. When storms arise, speak peace. When lack appears, speak fullness. Your authority is not volume, but alignment. There was once a woman with no visible way out, yet she chose speech over panic. She declared divine provision daily, unshaken by silence. And on the appointed day, supply arrived perfectly. It was not effort. It was authority. The amount was never the issue. The agreement was heaven responds to bold alignment. Bills bow to proclamation. Speak to them. Command them fulfilled. Money moves by declaration, not fear. Your words are the channel. Your voice is the vault. You are not traveling toward wealth. You are abundance expressed. Speak as such, move as such, live as such. For I am is not a wish, it is a decree. And that decree governs creation. And as you continue walking in this awareness, something even deeper awakens within you. You begin to notice that life no longer feels random or hostile, but responsive. Circumstances start behaving like listeners instead of obstacles. Situations that once intimidated you now pause as if God waiting for instruction. This is the moment you realize you were never meant to negotiate with reality, only to command it through alignment. Your words stop feeling like hopeful statements and start carrying weight, clarity, and inevitability. You speak less out of urgency and more out of certainty. You no longer rush to explain yourself to people because your authority does not come from persuasion but from position. When your mouth aligns with divine law, explanation becomes unnecessary. Creation understands command better than reasoning. You begin to see that silence after a decree is not failure but incubation. The unseen realm works in precision, not panic. Just as a seed does not break the soil the moment it is planted, your spoken word follows its own perfect order. Roots form before shoots appear. Structures are assembled before results are visible. And during this sacred interval, your role is not to dig up the seed with doubt, but to guard it with consistency. Repetition is not desperation. It is reinforcement. Each time you repeat the decree, you strengthen the legal claim. Each time you speak without wavering, you signal confidence to the unseen. Heaven recognizes stability of speech as readiness for increase. You will also notice a shift in how you respond to opposition. When delays appear, you no longer internalize them as personal failure. When unexpected expenses arise, you do not collapse into fear. Instead, you treat every challenge as an invitation to speak again. Resistance becomes confirmation that movement has begun. The presence of tension means the word is working its way through layers of form. You stop asking, why is this happening, and start declaring this too is aligning. You understand that pressure is not punishment, but compression preparing expansion. Diamonds are not formed in comfort, but they are never formed by chaos either. They are formed by law acting consistently over time. As your speech matures, you become careful not to speak casually about yourself. You stop joking about lack. You stop rehearsing old stories of struggle. You stop bonding with people over complaints. Not because you are denying reality, but because you are governing it. You understand that every sentence you release is either reinforcing the old structure or authorizing the new one. Words are not neutral. They either build or dismantle. And now that you know this, you choose deliberately. You speak life over your finances. You speak order over your schedule. You speak favor over your connections. You speak clarity over your mind. Even when you must address challenges, you do so from authority, not fear. There will be moments when your mind tries to pull you back into old habits, urging you to calculate, analyze, and worry before speaking. But you gently return to the truth. Calculation follows decree, not the other way around. Planning is useful, but it is not primary. Strategy serves speech. Action follows alignment. When you speak first, action becomes efficient instead of exhausting. You stop doing 10 things to force a result and start doing one thing in cooperation with law. Effort becomes lighter. Timing becomes smoother. You find yourself in the right place without strain, speaking to the right people without chasing, receiving ideas that feel less like pressure and more like downloads. At some point, wealth stops being the focus and starts being the byproduct. You no longer speak declarations just to get money. You speak them because they are true. And money responds to truth effortlessly. You realize that abundance is no God to something you attract. It is something you express. The outer world simply mirrors the inner alignment you have established through consistent speech. This is why peace increases before provision. Confidence settles before cash flows. Authority stabilizes before numbers change. These are signs that law is active. And when provision does arrive in visible form, you are not shocked. You are calm. You recognize it. It feels familiar, like something that belonged to you long before it showed up. Gratitude flows naturally, not from surprise, but from recognition. You understand that manifestation is not magic. It is confirmation. It is the echo of something you already said, already believed, already authorized. You do not cling to it in fear of loss because you know the source is not external. The source is alignment, and alignment lives within you. This is how you become unshakable. Markets can fluctuate, systems can shift, opinions can change, but your authority remains. You do not rise and fall with trends because you are rooted in law. You do not need constant reassurance because your word reassures you. You do not depend on permission because you already have it. You begin to live God from overflow rather than pursuit, from command rather than request. And this state is not arrogance. It is rest. It is humility aligned with truth. It is knowing your place in the divine order and occupying it without apology. So continue to speak. Speak when results are visible and when they are forming. Speak when others doubt and when others agree. Speak when it feels powerful and when it feels quiet. Let your words be few, but let them be firm. Let them be consistent, anchored, and unbroken. Because the unseen listens constantly. Creation does not miss a decree. Time itself rearranges around authority. And as you remain faithful to the law of your own speech, you will watch your world steadily conform, not through force, but through alignment. And as this way of living deepens, you begin to recognize that what once felt like discipline slowly becomes instinct. Speaking with authority no longer feels like something you try to do. It becomes the natural language of your inner world. You catch yourself correcting thoughts before they ever reach your mouth. You notice how quickly alignment returns when something feels off. It is not effort anymore. It is awareness. You are no longer learning a principle. You are embodying it. Your inner world becomes ordered. And because inner order always precedes outer order, life starts responding with less resistance. Things fall into place with a kind of quiet inevitability that feels both ordinary and miraculous at the same time. You also begin to see how deeply conditioned the world is to speak against itself. Conversations around you are filled with limitation, fear, complaint, and survival language. At first, this awareness feels isolating, but eventually it becomes freeing. You no longer feel compelled to agree with what diminishes you. You learn how to listen without absorbing, how to observe without participating, how to remain compassionate without surrendering authority. You don't argue. You don't correct everyone. You simply refuse to echo what contradicts your alignment. Silence becomes powerful when it is intentional, and speech becomes surgical when it is precise. Your words begin to carry a different tone. Not louder, not aggressive, but grounded. People notice it before they understand it. They sense stability in you. They feel clarity when you speak. This is not charisma borrowed from personality. God, T is authority sourced from alignment. When you speak about your life, your work, your future, there is no frantic edge, no need to convince. Your certainty is not loud, but it is unmistakable. And because certainty is magnetic, opportunities begin finding you without pursuit. Conversations lead to doors. Ideas lead to income. Relationships align without force. You start seeing how wealth is not chased but attracted by coherence. At times, old memories surface. Past failures miss chances. Seasons of lack try to rise and remind you of who you used to be. But now, instead of resisting them emotionally, you override them verbally. You speak a higher truth over lower memories. You do not deny the past, but you dethrone it. You acknowledge that it shaped you, but it does not define you. Your words place you firmly in the present authority of who you are now. You understand that memory loses power when it is no longer rehearsed. What you stop repeating eventually stops ruling. You also learn discernment with your declarations. You stop scattering words carelessly. You don't announce every intention to everyone. You recognize that some things are meant to be spoken in private and sacred. Consistency rather than displayed prematurely. This is not secrecy born of fear, but stewardship born of wisdom. Just as seeds are planted underground before they appear above ground, some declarations require quiet incubation. You protect them from doubt, ridicule, and misunderstanding until they are strong enough to stand on their own. Silence, when chosen, becomes an extension of authority rather than its absence. As your inner alignment stabilizes, your outer actions naturally refine. You don't become passive, you become precise. You still act, but action flows from clarity instead of pressure. You know when to move and when to wait. You sense timing instead of forcing outcomes. You begin to trust pauses, recognizing them as moments of calibration rather than stagnation. You stop mistaking stillness for lack of progress. You realize that the unseen does its most important work in silence. This understanding removes anxiety from waiting and replaces it with expectancy. Gradually, you notice how your relationship with money itself transforms. It no longer feels like something you must control obsessively or fear losing. It becomes a neutral servant responsive to direction. Stop assigning emotional weight to numbers. You stop equating self-worth with income. And paradoxically, this detachment allows abundance to flow more freely. Money moves most easily when it is not idolized or feared. It responds to respect, not obsession. When you see it as a tool rather than a judge, it begins behaving accordingly. You also recognize that generosity becomes natural, not forced. Giving no longer feels like loss because you no longer believe in scarcity. You give from overflow of identity, not excess of numbers. And each act of generosity reinforces your internal agreement with abundance. You are not trying to get back something you gave. You know the source is continuous. The more aligned you are, the more circulation increases. Wealth flows through you, not just to you. And flow by its nature expands. There are moments when life tests this alignment not to punish you, but to strengthen your authority, a sudden expense, an unexpected delay, a closed door. In those moments, the old reflex would have been panic or self-doubt. Now the reflex is declaration. You speak before reacting. You command before calculating. You affirm alignment before assessing damage. And along with most immediately, peace returns. Not because the situation resolved instantly, but because your position did not shift. You remained on the throne of your speech. You did not step down into reaction.